You put two keyboards on one computer, and then it's a multiplayer typing game, and you can play with your friends.
Or just an extra keyboard into a laptop. So
Yep.
just as long as there's two keyboards involved, you're good to go.
So you guys decided to make like a multiplayer game. That's almost like a kind of like a console game where you use two controllers, where you're using two keyboards instead.
Yeah.
Right.
And how did that idea come to you guys? Like, what was?
It's a good question.
This happened a while ago. We tried to do a Kickstarter for another game, like 2-3 years ago.
Maybe like two years ago.
And then Dan had the idea of making just like a really small, fast, like arcade-like game that mimicked our typing games. It only had 2 mini games, and we did it at a Destructoid event in Brooklyn, which was pretty fun. But then we just sort of kept developing it, and it became 9 mini games, and over time we just sort of fleshed it out a lot. Yeah. We've been working on other projects in between, but so this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, we made so after we made the typing game, I forget exactly how or when, but one of us had the idea it'd just be fun to make a multiplayer typing game with just 2. And I think we always had the arcade context in mind too. Like it'd be awesome to have an arcade machine with 2 keyboards on it. And I don't necessarily know why, just because it's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's something different. Whatever.
We both like typing games now, and we've had a lot of experience with it, and so we figure, it's the next step. And it's something that hasn't really been done before too, because there's been lots of typing games, but very few multiplayer ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings me back to the old DOS games back in the day. Is that where you guys kind of got a lot of your inspiration from those old school like number munchers and stuff like that? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, there's one. Looking at the trailer, there's one kind of mini game where there's these kind of little creatures hopping around a keyboard, and that's definitely number munchers inspired.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, it looks like an old PC game just because the graphics aren't so good. It's kind of like we get pixel art. The main reason we use this kind of graphical style is just because most of the games we've made have been for 30-day competitions. The Something Awful forums do a 30-day game jam kind of thing.
Okay.
So you rush for time, and simply because of that,
it's just easy.
Yeah, because it's pretty quick to pump up pixel graphics.
And you guys recently took this to a Indiecade, right?
Yep. Indiecade East. Yep.
And
Go ahead.
Well, some people may not even know what Indiecade is or what it is that you do there. So how about you explain a little bit about that to them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Indiecade, I think it started off on the West Coast. It's like a pretty big independent game festival.
Yeah, they focus on independent games.
Yep. They have a lot of cool arcade machines and like a lot of indie games. We've never been to Indiecade out west. Yeah. And I think it's only a few years old, but now they're doing Indiecade East on the East Coast. And we're based in New York. Yeah. And so this is handy for us. It's in Queens at the Museum of the Moving Image.
Yeah, just not too far from us.
I forget how we got invited. How did we get invited to this thing?
I saw people talking about it on Twitter, and from there we got picked, which was pretty nice. Yeah,
and so we'd been developing this game, but we didn't have an arcade cabinet yet. But as soon as we got the invite to Indiecade East, we said like we should. I was really into the idea of building a full cabinet.
Yeah.
And so we did.
It's pretty hard though, because this is pretty much our whole apartment right here, and we had to build it pretty much in the space behind us.
Yeah, and I see the arcade back there by chance.
Yeah, you can kind of see it.
Still there.
Yeah, what's on there?
The keyboards are taken off at the moment just because I don't know, just to keep them safe. Our cats have been jumping up there constantly. Yeah, so it's empty at the moment.
So you had Proudbottom hooked up to that, is what you're saying?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was a pretty cool setup. We had the arcade cabinet there, and then it was in front of this giant wall, and we had it hooked up to a projector too. So it was playing simultaneously on the cabinet and being projected onto the wall behind it.
Yeah, so people could easily
spectate.
Yeah,
it was really awesome.
Yeah,
and did you build that arcade by yourself, or?
The cabinet? The cabinet we did ourselves, but we got it from like a kit that you could get online.
Gotcha.
It was still a process.
Yeah,
but it is probably way easier than buying the wood and cutting it ourselves, especially since we have no basement to do.
When you guys were getting into like the making games, did you guys imagine that you would be putting it in an arcade cabinet?
I guess not at the beginning.
Not at the beginning. There's a few places near us that are like arcade bars. Like one of them are Barcade.
Yeah, they're great.
Is our favorite. and I don't know, it just always being surrounded by them. We've always loved them.
It's pretty cool. It's just a lot of fun.
How did people take to that? Like at the Indiecade or like people in general, when you think of arcade machine, you're thinking of like joystick, and they walk up and they say two keyboards. Like, what is people's first impressions when they see that?
Nobody really, was like, "Whoa, it's so weird." Because
Well, I mean, like Indiecade had a lot of weird experimental sort of things. There were some really fun ones. There was butt sniffing pugs, where the controller is this big tennis ball and a little plush pug that you have to like smack its butt.
Yeah. There's a lot of
like fun stuff.
Yeah, there's
like
a lot
that.
of pretty weird games.
So I think it's sort of par for the course there, at least.
I would actually say that ours is one of the less weird games, surprisingly.
Maybe.
Yeah. There was one game where they had like this gigantic rubber ball kind of hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, with little buttons on either side.
And somehow the game was controlled with the ball. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to play many of the other games there because
it's pretty crowded. It was pretty crowded. There was a line, and a lot of our time was just taken up by setup and that sort of thing.
Also, as soon as like right at the beginning, the game froze up in a spot it's never frozen up before ever.
It's really frustrating. Like there's a part in the game where you could choose the game to pick the mini game for you, and it's this giant wheel that spins around. Yeah. And it's never happened before, but it landed right in between two of the choices.
At least I think that's why it froze up. I don't know.
I think so. There was a live stream of the game, and we looked back at the part that it froze up on, and it was right in between.
But when you make these games, you end up testing them thousands of times because you make a tweak.
Yeah.
You try it, you make a tweak, you try it.
Yeah.
And this never happened before. And it happened like right away.
We play tested so much with friends, with ourselves, especially, the days coming up before the event. It never happened.
Yeah. After it froze up, you kind of, your mindset changes. Like, I can't leave this room now.
Yeah.
Because what if we leave and it freezes up and everyone's just standing around the frozen up cabinet?
Yeah.
But it never happened again.
Yeah, it was only once.
Yeah.
Now, you both are the only developers on the game, right? Mm-hmm. And now, do you guys do the same thing, or do you guys specialize in your own side of the project?
Dan does all the coding.
Yeah.
He also does a lot of the art. I help with a lot of the art as well. We both come up with the concepts.
Yeah, it's just Holy Wow Studios is just us. One problem with the name Holy Wow Studios is I think people think it's more people because of the studios name.
Yeah, because it's us in this room, and that's it.
One person on Twitter is like, "I would love to work for Holy Wow Studios." It's just like our living room. It's just like us on two laptops in our living room, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And our cats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jackie helps.
Yes. Where'd you guys get? No, you're good. Where did you guys come up? Where did the name come from? The importance behind it. This is kind of like a long name. It's interesting.
Yeah. We used to go by the name 123 Blaston a long time ago. And that was kind of... I spent 1 year in Japan. And
nice.
one of the things that I loved about Japan is how much goofy, mistranslated English there is. Like, there's so many signs that are in English for some reason, and they're all... So many have this kind of slightly off. Yeah. This is the burger.
This is the
it's a place I used to get burgers. But 123 Blaston, I thought was like a funny sounding fake translation.
Yeah.
Like instead of 321 Blast Off, it's 123 Blaston.
Yeah.
So we went by that name for a while, but then we decided it was a bad name because it was hard to Google.
Yeah.
And
and then sometimes it had dashes, sometimes it didn't, and it was just I don't know.
And everyone would say it wrong. People would say 321 Blast On, 123 Blast Off. Like everyone would say it wrong.
Yep.
And one thing that annoyed me was all the soundtracks for the games we made under that name. When you put them into iTunes, at first 123 Blast On was first in the artist list. It was before A, but then in an iTunes update, it went to the end of the list, like after Z. So 123 Blast On was always like the last thing in the artist list, and I was like, okay, we got to change this name. I hate it. And we picked Holy Wow because that's the first line of dialogue from the first Icarus Proudbottom game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the first game, I think the first line is like, "Holy wow, I can't stop making boom booms at my bottom."
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and you guys are saying that this is like the first time you're going to be selling a game, right?
Yeah.
Now, what were the changes for that? Like, how did you go from it being free to now it's being paid? Did you have to put more? I suggest you probably put more work into it, correct?
Yep. We've been working on this game for way too long.
Yeah, it's probably been 2.5 years.
We don't do this full time. We have 9 to 5 jobs, and this is just a nights and weekends thing.
Right.
Yeah, but the main thing is just the amount of time we're spending on it. Some of the some of the other games we've made, when we know they're going to be free.
Yeah, and those were like
Yeah.
our past games have a lot of times been the 30-day like contests, and we made them in 30 days, and that was it. Sometimes we sort of improved them slightly afterwards, but this one I feel like we've definitely play tested it way more in our other games.
Yep. We're just putting another level of polish onto it.
Yep.
And just putting up, actually even since this trailer, we've actually updated a lot of the graphics. A lot of the graphics used to be from the old typing game, but pretty much by this point, we've replaced almost all of them. It's pretty much just like the level of polish is the biggest difference you're trying to make. Yeah.
Gotcha. So jumping into like the indie scene, I take it. So you guys are probably playing a lot of indie games.
A bit,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
Less than I used to be super into all sorts of indie games, but now there's so many.
Yeah, there's
It's too
so
many. It's
but-
crazy. Yeah.
And
Sorry.
I no, you're fine. I was saying it's interesting because a lot of people talk about that a lot of space has been filled with the amount of content that's been out there, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen a game like you guys is. That's it's almost like an educational game, but it also kind of reminds you of like a really fun, quirky little game.
Yeah.
How are people taken to that? Like, what's your responses from the community?
Well, people, we got a surprising amount of positive feedback to our first typing game.
Yeah, we were really surprised by how many people love typing games.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I played Mario Teaches Typing. That's the only typing game I ever played. But of course, there was Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, and there were some other small ones. But apparently, there's a big community out there that really loves them. And
Yeah.
of course, there's Typing of the Dead, which is really popular
it's
as
awesome.
well. But people, there's a big typing game community that we had no idea about.
Yeah. We like the game, but neither of us are like huge typing game fans. We just thought it'd be interesting
be
to make a
fun.
typing game.
Yeah.
Mainly we thought it'd be funny. Like we had the concept of a typing game where, it's this kind of happy typing game and he tells you to type phrases, but over time the phrases get more and more evil. That was pretty much the premise behind the game.
And also, it doesn't teach you how to type at all.
No, it's not educational at all. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There was the one guy said he learned how to type from the game.
Yeah, one guy said
Yeah.
he learned how to type. I don't know how, but
Yeah.
whatever works, I guess.
But one thing, we don't really have a mission statement or anything, but I think moving forwards, one thing I would like to focus on is just making games that are unique in some way. A lot of indie games are incredible. One issue I have with the indie game scene in general is there's a lot of games which are pretty much just copies of other games, or
Yeah.
there's a lot of Metroidvanias.
I mean, look nice, but sometimes only
Yeah.
improve upon them in a slight way, or
a lot of these games are incredible. I'm not bashing them, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of roguelikes. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Metroidvanias. There's a lot of like first-person shooters and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just like to try always making stuff that's different in some way. It's not just a tweaked or polished version of a different game that's already out there. A lot of Geometry Wars stuff,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you guys did a successful job doing that. Like I said, there's not a lot of space for typing games. At least I haven't seen to this level with fast pace. Kind of reminds you of like a Mario Party type
Yeah.
game, but for typing.
This is
Now-
definitely Mario Party-ish, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I think it looks fantastic. Like I said, the art direction is good. I guess my question is, doing the owl. Where does
Yeah.
that? I guess the history behind that for everybody. Like, where does he come from, and how did you guys come up with that guy?
I don't...
Well, he originated in Icarus Proudbottom and the Curse of the Chocolate Fountain.
Yeah, it's
but
the first Icarus Proudbottom
You
game.
created him. I don't know where you got him from.
Yeah. To give a backstory in the first game, Icarus is, like I said, it's like a Gradius type of game. It's like a side scroller, except it's Icarus Proudbottom, and he can't stop pooping, and he's kind of like flying.
He's flying in there.
He's flying through the air like a jet, like with poops coming out of his butt. And instead of a gun, you have like a katana, so it's like all melee combat.
Yeah, and there's geese and ducks, and then
Yeah.
worse enemies along the line. And
If you go on YouTube, you can find some people playing it. Although
Yeah.
it's pretty old, so it's hard to
Yeah.
get it running now. And so that game, that was just pretty much a pure comedy game.
yeah, it was pretty much
Um,
like a 20-minute poop joke.
Yeah. And we were
With
just
puns
yeah.
and poop galore.
I forget exactly how he came up with the owl. His name is Jerry, but basically as Icarus is flying through the air, we're just like, what are some funny things that could happen to him? And so one of the first things that happens is like this kind of magical owl, like his kind of spirit animal kind of owl, like approaches him in the air. It's a talking owl. I don't think there's much thought behind it besides that it would be funny and cute
Yeah,
and we like And now
And then he follows Icarus around the whole way.
Yeah. In the first game, we were just like come up with as many crazy ideas as possible.
Yeah.
It's really like every wacky idea we could think of, we threw in there. And it's kind of funny that a lot of the ideas we've kind of carried over to future Icarus Proudbottom games.
Yeah.
We didn't even think it would be it's not really a franchise.
It's just a character that we've continued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we made the first game, I don't think we had any intention at all of making more games of the same character. But somehow, I don't know how. I think what happened was like we made a second game. Yeah, the typing game was our second big game.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I think we were just like, why don't we just use the same character? Because we already made this. I like the name. I like the way he looks. I like the owl. Let's just, keep the character going. And now it's kind of like our mascot in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's our Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like the staple. I can't get through it. I think he looks. You kind of get used to him really quick. I enjoy it.
And it's the more games we make of them too, it's like the character becomes more fleshed out in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first game, we had no idea what the character was supposed to be like, and they're kind of all over the place. But by this point, like we have a pretty firm idea of like how Icarus should speak and what Icarus should say, and like how Jerry should speak and what Jerry should say, and like what the characters are like. It's fun. It's like a TV show. How in season 1 sometimes like they act strangely,
Right.
but then if you watch the whole series, by the end like the characters are really fleshed out.
Yeah.
It's like if you watch Seinfeld season 1, like George is like less angry
Yeah.
and he's like smarter,
Yeah.
and Kramer is dumber
Mm-hmm.
because like the characters weren't fleshed out yet.
And you guys have been working on this together. I mean, how's that been? As a couple together, I'm sure it's like a great rewarding experience. Or are you guys at each other's throats constantly?
No, we work fine together.
Yeah, it's mostly. I mean, I think the issue is just with this game. We've been working on this game for a long time.
Yeah. And also just
Yeah.
time. I wish both of us had just more time.
Yeah.
Like with full-time jobs, it's just it's hard to have the energy after work to do anything.
Yeah.
But we push ourselves, and it kind of helps in some ways. Sometimes if I see him working, I'm like, oh, I guess I should work too.
Yeah, it's when you first start making a game, it's always really fun
Yeah.
because
You have all these ideas.
you're throwing
and
ideas
like,
out, and like you have this concept, and then the concept starts to come together, and you start to actually see if it's fun or not, and then that's always a blast. But when you reach the end of the project, then it becomes less fun because the game is pretty much done. But there's just like a lot of bugs and a lot of little things you want to tweak.
It's not the fun part at that part.
Tons of little sound effects you want to replace, and like
Yeah.
extra little pieces of functionality you want to add just to make it more coherent, and kind of boring technical stuff like the ability to mute music or like change the sound volume,
Right.
and just all the sorts of boring stuff
Right.
comes later. So I think we've reached the point where it's not really fun anymore, but it's so close to finish that
Yeah.
it'll be
So
really.
safe
yeah.
to say you guys have put massive amounts of hours into it.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There's always when we kind of went into the history of this a little bit. We showed this about 2 summers ago at this Destructoid event Jackie mentioned. Back then it was 2 mini games, and it happened in a fixed sequence. Like you played 1 mini game, then you played the second mini game, and that was it.
Yep.
Now it's 9 mini games, and you can have 1 to 4 players, and you can set how many points the game goes to. And it's kind of an open-ended experience where you can play the mini games in any order you want, and you can choose which mini games you want to play.
Or you could have the wheel spin and choose for you.
Yep. And
Yeah.
you can also play every single game single player too. That's something we added kind of at the last minute because it's a local multiplayer game, but people generally hate when you buy a multiplayer game and you can't do anything until you have a friend over.
Right.
So we added the ability to play against the computer for every single minigame. So it's like just a lot of stuff we've added into this over time. We recently replaced all the dialogue graphics to make Icarus a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Actually, in the trailer, it doesn't really show that. But Icarus, like, we now have this huge graph of Icarus.
Yeah, and
and
he's like dancing.
he talks to you.
He's got a little party shirt and party hat
Yeah.
on.
And where did Icarus like come from? Is that like someone you know, or is that just somebody you came up with?
I think it's just purely invented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, for the first game, the pooping game, we made him up for that game. And that's where the name came from. Like,
Absolutely.
we didn't have a name for him at first. I think I was calling him like the pooping guy.
Yeah.
But then when it came to come up with a name, we thought it'd be funny. It's like Icarus
Yeah.
because he's flying, because like he flew too close to the sun. And then Proudbottom, because Proudbottom is a funny name for someone who just
Poops
if you see
a
the
lot.
game,
Poops
it's
all the time,
yeah,
yeah.
he's pooping all the time. So the
What
name
would-
doesn't make
Go ahead,
sense.
go ahead.
The name doesn't make sense with the modern games, but
Whatever.
It's fine.
It's funny.
I like the name
It's
a lot.
fine.
I kind of like it though. It kind of it has like this back history to it, almost like a Nintendo game where you gotta
Yeah.
like dig into it to find out what it means. I
Yeah.
think that's actually kind of funny. What would you say was the most challenging thing on this project? Like, was there a level that was just whooping you? Period.
The keyboard thing.
Yeah. One issue we had with this game is we weren't even sure if it'd be possible to make a game where you plug two keyboards into one computer and have it work. And actually, for a long time, we thought it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
We had the idea, and then we kind of just tested it. And it turns out that if you plug two keyboards into one computer, the computer kind of treats them exactly the same. Like the computer can't really tell them apart.
There's no way of making them separate, except if you do some really crazy stuff back end in your
Yeah.
computer. And the thing is, since we do want to put this up on Steam, everyone can't do that in the back of their computer. We can't ask
Yeah.
people to do that. That's awful.
So,
so we
yeah.
had to do workarounds, which actually it helped sort of generate ideas for games, and we had to come up with some pretty creative ideas. But
Yeah, early on we
worked.
thought like, what if we what if we tell the user to push caps lock on one keyboard?
Yeah.
And that way one keyboard would be inputting all uppercase and the other keyboard would be putting lowercase.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we can tell them apart that way. But even that doesn't work because when you hit caps lock, it's like a system level
Yeah,
change.
so it caps lock both.
Yeah, so both
keyboards.
keyboards are caps lock. To make a long story short, basically the computer can't really tell the keyboards apart. So all of the mini games we had to invent, you either take turns or you're never typing the same letters.
Yeah.
So like
okay.
so it was the hardest part was probably just thinking of mini games that work with that limitation.
Yep.
Like if there was a mini game where both players have to type E at the same time, the computer would never know which person typed E because the computer just gets the E and it can't tell the keyboards apart. So all the
Right.
mini games are kind of like tricky like that. So that's
I
probably
see.
just
That's actually kind of interesting. It's like almost guys you had to do like a keyboard mini game to build the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, for a long time we actually thought it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, we just won't make a multiplayer game and forget it. But then once we figured out, the way to kind of cheat the system, it kind of grew from there. And that's kind of why the number of mini games has grown over time. Because at first,
we thought like, oh, these are basically all we can come up with.
Yeah.
But eventually we came up with more and more ideas. And sometimes having the keyboard shared is almost like a gameplay element because it really forces you to really choose the correct keys. Like especially in one of the games, Keyboard Critters, if you press the wrong key, you might actually be helping the other player. So you have to be very, very accurate.
yeah.
There's also some other mini games where like you could actually like mess up the other player, but both of us have play tested it so many times, and I've even actively tried to do that, and I can't do mine and mess up the other person at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like it wouldn't help me in the long run. So I feel like it works out in the end.
Yep.
So what would be your personal favorite like mini game? Like this is the one you really really love out of the game.
I love Wacky Word Race.
I
Wacky Word.
hate the name.
Well, it used to be called "Don't Type Yak" because it gives both players a word, a three-letter word, and you just have to type the three-letter word as fast as possible, and then it gives you a new one. And it's just whoever can type. I think it's like 30
Yeah.
first wins. But there's one like special forbidden word that you're not allowed to type, or else you lose the game instantly. It used to be "Don't type yak" because yak was the forbidden word. But Dan had the great idea of making it be a random word, and it shows you it in the beginning. So I think that it's a great idea because like you forget it as you're typing. You're trying to type so fast, and the word pops up, and you forget it's the forbidden word, and you type it by accident.
It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse, how they pick a secret word, and it's just like that, where the words are coming at you and you're typing them as fast as you can, and like sometimes you get lost in the moment. You type the forbidden word and then you lose.
Yeah.
I think my favorite mini game is probably I'm looking at the trailer and the little window there. There's one called what's it called? Typo Drum Master, which is a parody of Taiko Drum Master.
Okay.
It's called Typo Drum Master.
Yeah, it's called Typo Drum Master.
Yeah. And in that one, you have to first Jerry plays a rhythm on a drum, like duk 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 duk, and then you have to type a word in the same rhythm, and it goes faster and faster over time. And it's one of those games where at first it's not so hard, but then eventually it's so fast, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my favorite overall. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the game, it makes me think. You said you guys have been working on it for so long. I'm sure you probably taken it to work or made lots of people test it over time, right?
We've definitely had our friends
Yep.
test it, and a big shout out to them for putting in the effort and patience with us. Especially some of our friends who've play tested so many of our games in the past.
And actually, Indicator's great for that too.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it was just people pretty much were at the cabinet all night long. They're like,
Yeah, there was always a
Yep.
line. Yeah.
It was being
Nuts.
played every minute of the day, so it was kind of fun to see
Yeah.
everyone playtesting it.
And how was that? Like usually when game developers watch their games being played, they see the players sometimes doing something that they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, I can't believe they did that. I didn't even know that was in there." Was there
Yeah.
any type of that going on for you guys?
Not so much, actually. We got kind of lucky.
Yeah,
Did you
I
notice
think
it?
one person skipped the tutorial and he had to ask us what to do.
Yeah.
But he admitted to skipping the tutorial.
Every minigame is a tutorial. Most minigames are simple enough you don't really need the tutorial.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 minigames that are like a little trickier.
Yeah, we categorize them in like easy, medium, and difficult.
Yeah.
For that reason.
I think with this kind of game, it's a little less prone to that because it's just it's a series of really simple minigames. So I think there's kind of less opportunity for players to just do crazy stuff that you didn't anticipate. Not like a real action game or something where,
Yeah.
the player could do anything. That's
Yeah.
kind of one nice thing about it, yeah.
And like I said, with everything being like overwhelmingly positive at the Indiecade, were you guys like in tears, just happy that your success was finally, it was over and you were getting ready to ship it and stuff?
I was happy it was over. I had a lot of anxiety beforehand. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to keep track of. And I mean, even just getting it there, the cabinet itself, it weighs almost 200 pounds. And
Oh, wow.
We live on a 3rd floor building, so getting it downstairs was hard. We drove a U-Haul for the first time.
Yeah, it was a lot
That
of
fun.
It was just the physical logistics of getting it
Yeah.
there were a pain.
It was hard.
We used a U-Haul to get it there,
Yeah.
but then on the last day, all the U-Hauls were booked up, so we had to just call a cab.
Yep.
And
Huh.
And
Well,
big shout out to that cab driver. For
Yeah, the poor guy. we
inside.
with the U-Haul, the cabinet kind of breaks into 2 giant pieces.
Yeah,
So
the
for
top
the
half and bottom half.
for the U-Haul, we did that. But then to bring it back, we actually like disassembled the cabinet entirely at the museum.
Yeah, well, we kept
So
the top
good.
half intact, but
Yeah.
the bottom half we pretty much totally disassembled in hopes that it would be easier to fit in the cab.
We spent a lot of time that weekend just like hauling stuff back and
Yeah.
forth. There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's more physical work than, and actually we were only there from like 7 to 10 p.m. on one
Yeah.
night, so pretty short time for all the work, but whatever.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, it was still a
I'm
lot of
really
fun.
happy they had us there. It was a great time.
It'll be
And they certainly helped us when we drove the U-Haul there, and there was a lot of volunteers that helped us drag the thing inside, which was great.
they had a lot of volunteers. It was great.
Yeah.
It'll be really fun to see it on Steam. We still don't have a specific go live date or anything, but
Oh, we're trying to do it as soon as possible. We've had fans ask on Twitter and such when, and I mean, the game's pretty much done. There's like just a handful of very small things we need to
Yep.
finish, some logistical things. But yeah, we're hoping definitely this year. Hopefully,
yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fun. Oh yeah, this year, no
sooner
problem.
rather than later, though.
It'll be fun to put on Steam, but at the same time, I'm curious to see how people react to it because
Yeah.
it's you need 2 keyboards to play the real experience. There's no online multiplayer.
Yeah,
it's
I
only
feel like
local multiplayer.
I'm really worried people are going to be disappointed. There's no
Yeah.
online multiplayer. We're trying to be very upfront
Yeah.
about that it's local only.
Was that just something you guys was interested in, or?
Nope, it's just I just don't know how to do netcode
Yeah.
at all. I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah, and we have a lot of other projects we're working on, and really we're happy at the state that the game is in, and
I also genuinely don't think it'd be much fun online
yeah,
because
because we want it to be a party,
Right.
and it's not as fun if I don't know you're just
And-
watching someone else type.
and if you most games too when you play multiplayer like there's a character you're controlling, so you can see the characters moving around. But most of these mini games like you're not controlling a character. So if you played online, you wouldn't really. It'd be very hard to tell what's happening.
Right.
Because you just see letters kind of flying around, and you'd hear sound effects, but you don't see. You wouldn't really see like a character jumping around. So I really don't think it would work too well. Yeah, but we'll sell it for cheap. We have full-time jobs, so like our lives don't depend on the success of this game.
Right.
Although,
Right.
you know, I'd like it to sell well.
So that means that there's definitely a big future for Holy Wow Studios then.
Oh yeah, I mean we have a lot of games in mind,
Yeah.
especially Dan. He always has ideas for stuff.
I have a laundry list of games I want to make in the future. A long list. We need to figure out what the next priority is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys like going to stick to this party type mini game thing, or are you guys
No.
looking to like expand into some really like I guess you can say maybe bigger games using bigger engines?
This would probably be our last typing game.
Yeah.
I can't. We've done a lot of
We've
typing
done a
games.
lot of
It's fine.
typing games. It's
So,
been a great time, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, this game we're making it still with Flash, which is really embarrassing. But we're exporting from Flash to Air, Adobe Air, so it's like an executable. It's
Yeah.
not like a Flash file. It's like there have been some real games that have used it, like Missionarium.
Yeah.
Is that the game, the adventure game?
Machinarium?
Machinarium. Some
It's
adventure
like
game
a
with
point and click
robots.
adventure. It's cute.
Yeah, but we're gonna move into a bigger engine. We have a lot of ideas. We just need to figure out what's next. Like
Yeah.
we made a small game last year over the summer. Didn't get much attention, but I kind of want to remake that like with better graphics. It's almost like an action billiards game. It's very hard to describe, but you're just a circle, and all the enemies are circles, and it's kind of like Geometry Wars, except you don't shoot a gun. Instead, you have to launch yourself like a cue ball, and you have to kind of slam against the enemies and kind of send them bouncing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's about like just how many you could get in a row.
Yeah, like imagine like a pool game, like a top-down pool game where the enemies are like shooting at you, and you need to like sprint around the board and then line up your shots and like whack the enemies with your ball. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I kind of want to make it in a better engine. We have another idea for like a pinball kind of Metroidvania game, where it's like 100 pinball tables that are all like this giant, massive pinball table that's all interconnected, and you have to like collect keys on this part of the pinball table to unlock parts of the other pinball table, and
Yeah.
then we have Jackie mentioned we tried to kickstart a game a few years ago, which would be kind of like a Star Trek tribute parody bridge simulator kind of game.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Kickstarter didn't work, but we want to do that too. So
yeah. Well, we might explore that in other ways, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
that
So
would be
you-
it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, are you guys still looking to like expand like Holy Wow like with employees, or are you just gonna stick to you guys too and just moving forward?
Well, I think 100% of it depends on how well this game does on Steam, actually.
Yeah.
Because
Because we have no budget to pay anyone at this.
if this, I guess I don't know, not really. If this game sells well enough that we can actually finance something, that'll make a world of difference.
Yeah.
I don't really anticipate it will, just because there's a lot of articles about how local multiplayer games don't sell well in general,
Yeah.
and this is really obscure too. It's like multiplayer keyboard typing game,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like a unique idea, and I think people might be interested in it.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no harm in putting it up. We might as well.
Yeah,
It's at a really good state at this moment.
it would be
so-
amazing to have one employee who's just like really good at coding stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm a lot better than I used to be, but I'm still 100% self-taught, and I'm not that good at I've never done much 3D stuff. And
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time just learning how to solve problems. So if that part of the equation was taken out, that'd be amazing. We could work a lot faster.
I think
for
that's
sure.
how a lot of coders learn, just teaching themselves and
Yeah.
learning how to solve problems.
Mhm.
You don't give yourself enough credit, but I know what you mean. It'd be nice to have someone who really knew how to do online stuff
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
No, I totally think your game is very interesting. I like the like I said, it definitely has a place in the market because of the double keyboard thing. So
Yeah.
I do think it's a very interesting take on. The fact that I've never seen it alone makes me want to just play it, like period, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, two keyboards. That's
Good.
that's interesting. You know what I mean? You think
Yeah.
about it like, okay, I actually want to try this. That always makes me think like the pros may be using. They play by themselves using two keyboards, like one in each hand. I can see something
Yeah.
crazy like that. But no, that's awesome. And you guys are looking to expand, which is fantastic. And it seems like you guys are just now jumping into that realm of like, now you're going to start getting hit hard by people because, you'll be charging people, and
Yeah.
you seem excited about it, which is fantastic. And I think it's interesting that you brought up that you talk about local multiplayer is dying, but I take it that you're a huge fan of like couch co-op, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't-
I mean, between the two of us, we play a lot of couch co-op and just I don't know
Yeah.
multiplayer games.
I wouldn't say local multiplayer is dying. There is in the indie community a pretty strong community of it, but I definitely have read that they just don't sell that well.
Mhm.
So that might end up killing it over time. But
Yeah.
actually, there's been a lot of great games. Like Nidhogg is super popular.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Towerfall is like one of my favorite games of all time. That's like an amazing local multiplayer game.
No, it is interesting. Like I don't know if that's like an age thing or what, because obviously I'm no young gamer, and I love couch co-op games. I think it brings a different element to the
Yeah.
game, and you can sit back and talk or unplug the other guy's controller when he's winning.
Right.
Yeah. No, it definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a different kind of experience.
Yeah.
We play a bit of couch co-op stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
We got Smash Brothers and all the Wii U titles. You
Yeah.
see the cat who just jumped in the frame.
The other cat is
There
right
he
here
is.
off screen.
Yeah.
So who is better between you guys? Who wins the game?
Well, okay. Well, it depends
it's-
on the game. We still play Smash Brothers a lot, and
Oh,
Dan is definitely better, but only
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit better.
do you mean this game, like the
Yeah.
typing game?
Well, yeah, this game and any game you guys want to talk about, but I was
Oh.
wondering, like, in the typing game, who is who's better? Who wins?
There's certain mini games that I'm definitely better, and certain mini games
Yeah.
that Dan is definitely better at.
I'd say I'm a little better, just because I do most of the coding. So like when you're actually coding the thing, like you're always making a tweak
Yeah.
and then hitting build and then testing it out. So I'm like playing so much, it's ridiculous. I don't enjoy it anymore because it's been
It's been
so
a long
long.
time.
Yeah.
As I find that to be like a common trait amongst
Oh, yeah.
developers when they get done with their game, they're just like, I don't ever want to see this game again.
Yeah.
So, when you guys were looking through the reviews, like a lot of developers talk about their first time they're looking at the reviews and they're like, they don't want to look at it. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it for like a week. Would you guys feeling like that at all for your first time?
It's a good question. I mean, this
I mean,
is yeah.
it's always good to get constructive criticism, and I mean, we look at game reviews all the time. There's always, good and bad things about any game. I mean, even our favorite games have their faults. It's just part
Yeah.
of the process.
This one will be different though, because since this is the first game we're selling, people I think
That's
are going to be
it.
harsher.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of really positive feedback in our previous games, which is really exciting and surprising.
Mhm.
And there's always people who complain.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's not much stress on our backs on the old games since they're free.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I can already predict some of the criticism.
Yeah,
I think the fact there's no online multiplayer, people are going to be
Yeah.
angry about that.
yeah,
The fact we've talked about the limitation, how we can't really distinguish between the keyboards
yeah.
and how that limits the kind of minigame. I think some people are going to be like, why is there no minigame where you're just like typing a paragraph?
Yeah.
But because they don't understand the technical limitation we're working with. So I anticipate kind of mixed reviews, but I don't mind. Because
No, I mean, I think you guys are gonna have a very good time. The game is unique, and I think that's what's needed in the indie community. So it's a very interesting game. Just looking at, they just sent me the link to your Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain.
oh yeah, that's the Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish that was something I would have seen a while ago. It actually looks really interesting.
Yeah, that was.
Hopefully, we can see something like that in the future. It
We'd
looks
like-
funny.
We'd like to bring it back
Oh,
in
yeah.
some way. The scope we had originally for it was quite large.
Yeah.
For the Kickstarter, and we wouldn't be able to do that currently. But we'd like to bring those characters back. Especially, I love the art style that
Yeah.
we came up with. It was a lot of fun.
It was exciting.
And you guys do the art, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
That game.
I
was-
mean, we're
yeah.
designers in our full-time jobs, so that's
Yeah.
Oh okay.
maybe our forte.
That game was going to be it's going to be like kind of like a Star Trek game where
Yeah.
You're
Where
the-
Jerry was sort of like Spock. And,
yeah.
I don't know.
I was kind of disappointed with how the Kickstarter went because I wanted to make that like the perfect Star Trek fan game,
The thing
because
is,
there's so many references and callbacks and
the thing is,
everything.
like, there's so many Star Trek fan projects, like, be it, like
Yeah.
fan videos or just like a lot of parodies. I've been a Star Trek fan since like middle school. I freaking love it, which is why I really wanted to make this game. But I feel like it's hard to sell that sometimes. Like, I feel like I'm even jaded with some like fan projects that come out. But I was really excited for that game. I'm disappointed we never really.
We'll do something with it.
Yeah.
One kind of pie in the sky idea I have is like to change that game into like another massive arcade cabinet. I would love to have an arcade cabinet that's like the actual bridge of the starship, and you'd have like people sitting all around the cabinet. You'd have like 4 players, like one guy's doing the weapons, one guy's doing the science
Oh,
stuff.
I see. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One guy's like the captain, he just has to like organize everything. One guy's a big joystick. And then
Oh, man.
And then on the back side of the cabinet, this is the idea I like the most. On the back side of the cabinet, there's a guy with another monitor, and he's like the engineer, and he has to like make the ship work, and he has to communicate with the other people via a little walkie-talkie because he's in the back side of the cabinet.
Yeah, I really love that idea.
And it could like
my
overheat
goodness.
and stuff. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
wow. I mean, why ain't people funding that? Like, that's a fantastic idea, man.
Actually,
Like,
that's
that's actually really interesting.
well, like as a Star Trek fan, I am on forums a lot, and the one game we talk about all of the time is Artemis Bridge Simulator. It's probably the most Star Trek game there's ever
Have you played that
been.
one? Have you tried it?
Which one?
Artemis Bridge Simulator?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good.
It
You
was cool.
basically hook up like 5 computers together in a LAN party.
Yeah.
Or you could do it online, but it's more fun to do it in like one apartment.
And it's like we said, like one person's the pilot,
Captain,
yeah,
one
person's
person's
the pilot,
the navigator.
and everything's networked.
Yep. You even got a communications person. It's super fun. You pretty much all work together to just fly the ship. I love it. It's such a great idea.
It's fun, yeah. But the idea would be to take that and kind of combine it into one big cabinet, so you don't have to worry about like getting 5 computers together and installing
Yeah,
the software in
yeah.
5 computers.
No,
And also
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just saying that's a crazy idea. I mean, I love the idea. Like I'm actually very, very impressed with what you just suggested there, especially with the monitor on the back.
I love that idea. That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
that is really awesome because like there's a lot of dead. You see this great arcade cabinet always has this really great art on the side, on the front. The marquee looks great, and then the back is just the back. No one cares.
Right.
Right. And so like that's really interesting that you decided to turn that into something that's like fun. That can make use of good space there.
I would love to like have fun with arcade cabinets. Like when we made the typing arcade cabinet for Indiecade, I had a lot of ideas, but we kind of ran out of time. Like I thought it'd be great to have. I thought it'd be great to have a monitor in the back so people could just spectate. I wanted to have a webcam on top, and then a printer inside, so it would like take photos as you play and then spit out like a photo booth.
Which I mean, we half did that.
Yeah.
We had a webcam hooked up to the top, and there's a little part at the end of the game where Icarus says like, "Oh, you guys are such good typing pals. Can I take a picture of you?" And there's like a little graphic of Icarus, and he holds a camera, and then that's when the webcam takes a picture, and then it shows. Typing pals.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to have cup holders all over. We didn't have time for that. I wanted to put cup holders everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere. I wanted like 100 cup holders. And I thought it'd be fun too to like write a comic and then put like the panels all over the cabinet. So people would have to kind of like walk around the cabinet to read the panels.
Oh,
There's a
nice.
lot of fun. There's a lot of things you could do with a cabinet because like, it's going to be in a public space surrounded by people having fun.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can you do in that circumstance? There's a lot of
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Turns out the side of the cabinet is really super hard to paint on. We tried everything with primer and it's like some really like smooth plastic. It's made
It's like a
out of.
plastic. It's like a plastic
Yeah.
film to protect.
Nothing
against
sticks to it,
scratches. Yeah.
So we came up with just something quick for Indiecade, but we like to do something more with it later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it almost makes me want you guys to like start making the arcade cabinets instead.
fun.
You know what I mean? Just make ideas for arcade cabinets. I think that would re-energize the arcade industry to see unique arcades like that. And I think that's part of the thing that kind of killed the arcades, in my opinion, is that they never got really reinvented. They kind of just stayed the same.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what kind of dragged them out.
They did try towards the end. I remember there was an arcade in our hometown, and then eventually it died. But towards the end of his last span, they started getting all the crazy arcade machines because I think the same thing happened. They realized it had to be unique. There was some game, I don't know if you remember. There was some game where there was like a big exercise bike, and you had to like pedal,
Oh yeah, I think.
and you got some crazy gyroscope thing. And,
Yeah, that one was super fun.
and there's like the X-Men cabinet, which is massive.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
It's
4
just
monitors
giant.
side by side.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you're able to come up with this like arcade game playing a typing game. Like I would have never thought of it, like ever. So I think that's really interesting. And one of the things I noticed about the Star Captain was that you guys were going to have a little figure. Kind of
Oh.
like that figure. It's like super cute. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, you can buy it from Shapeways. I uploaded.
Oh, you guys actually have the.
Oh,
Yeah,
we've
right
got
here.
a few
Yeah,
of
hold up
these.
to the little Jerry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, no, shapeways.com. You could upload
Put it
like
here.
3D models and anyone can buy them and they ship directly. So,
one of the most fun and most stressful parts of trying to do the Kickstarter
oh man.
was thinking of all the back rewards.
Yep. Well, it's just hard
Yeah.
because like you need to think about all the finances. Like, okay, if we actually
Mm-hmm.
include the shipping and the production and just like all the costs that go into the rewards, are we actually making any money
Yeah.
from that? At the end of the day, not so much.
Yeah, that's I think one
Yeah, it's really hard.
one classic mistake I guess a lot of people make with their first Kickstarter is they're like if you buy the game we'll send you an art book,
Yeah.
and they don't realize that just the shipping is like $6
And like, what is the
per
book
book.
made out of? Is
Yeah.
it actually a real printed? And at the, I don't know.
But
It's hard.
yeah, so we made these little 3D figures, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have a few friends who are like real good artists, like paint artists,
Yeah,
like
like
real artists, not
illustrators, yeah,
computer artists.
yeah.
We had them. They painted us this like incredible poster,
Yeah.
And, like, kind of
it's
like a sci-fi
gorgeous. We
style.
still have it.
Yeah, I see that. Looks like really like realistic.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I,
we have it in our bedroom. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm looking at this like with all the stuff you guys got going on here. Like it really makes me guys really want you to get your game in Indie Box. And like I want to see all the goodies you guys can put into that. Is that something you guys thought about or?
An indie box?
What's Indie Box? What do you mean?
Well, Indie Box is like a
Loot
it's like
crate?
it's kind of like a loot crate thing
Yeah.
where they pick where they get an indie game and make a hard copy release and you get all
Oh.
kinds of goodies
Oh, man.
and,
Yeah.
and like little toys and soundtracks and
Yeah, no, I love making little things. Especially, this is the first Shapeways thing I made for Typing Party for Indiecade. I made a little 3D medallion. It was a typing medallion, and
Yeah.
it featured Jerry holding a keyboard, and we painted it
wow.
gold, but it wasn't really gold.
We gave it away to the guy who won at
Yep.
Indiecade. He was super good.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome, though. I would love to. That's
Yeah, just like little goodies and soundtracks. I mean, Dan's come up with like a million soundtracks over the years for our
that's a
games.
good. We should do this. We should actually. Yeah, we might do this now because I love the idea so much.
Oh yeah, you should definitely take a look at them. They just and it's cool because you get a hard copy release of your game.
Yeah.
So it's and that's what makes me think like when I see this, I feel like you guys were preparing yourselves for that, which is really interesting because you don't see a lot of the indie developers prepare themselves for figures and just different things like right away immediately. So that's awesome that you guys have thought that far ahead. I mean, this is something you guys are extremely passionate about then.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a perfectionist too, and like it's fun to, but I really like just having some sort of, not just a game, but like this whole universe around the game, and like the physical stuff is a fun part of that.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of a physical box with Typing Party. That'd be awesome. What would be awesome is if we had a physical box with Typing Party that came with an extra keyboard, and so you don't have to get the keyboard.
Yeah.
It comes in the box.
I mean, there's some cheap keyboards out there. Over the years
Oh, yeah.
of developing
Yeah.
typing games, I think we have a picture on our Twitter of just all the keyboards we have in our apartment, which is a lot. We have so many now. We bought new ones for the cabinet, and
Yeah.
we've bought old ones for the time we showed it at Destructoid. We have a nice one we use just for gaming.
Yeah.
We have two really shitty cheap ones that are really tiny, but I mean they
They're
get
horrible.
the job. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're horrible, but they get the job done in a pinch.
And I didn't even forget to ask you that. And you said you did the music, so all this music is original.
yeah.
Wow.
I've been music is probably I've probably been making music longer than I've been making games. Music is kind of like for a while I would have said it was like my primary interest, even over games. but they're kind of equal now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dan
I
has
love
so
making
many instruments in this apartment. And
Yeah,
it's a
this
tiny
apartment's full
I
of-
apartment.
see the guitar back there.
we've got guitars, we've got a keyboard, we've
We've
got
got an accordion, a
Accordion.
ukulele, a
I don't play those
violin,
much.
a saxophone. We
Yeah.
had a banjo you sold.
I'm gonna buy the banjo back. I'm buying the banjo back. We have
We have 3 MIDI keyboards
yeah,
and then like a weighted keyboard.
we've got acoustic guitars, electric guitars, and a clarinet.
Oh yeah,
Most
the
recent
clarinet.
Wow.
corner. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
No, I mean, I think it's great because that's one of the things about the game that I thought was interesting is music, especially for the older games. That's what really drives a lot of the older games. Like
Yeah.
if you think of games like Sonic or Mario,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
first thing people think of is the music immediately. So I see that you guys really take pride in music, and that's so awesome that you do your own music.
Thanks.
Has to be challenging. I'm sure it's not easy.
It's fun. Well, I enjoy it though, so it takes a long time because I'm kind of a perfectionist with the music too, and I'll make a theme. Basically every song I make, there's like 6 iterations of it. I'll make a version, and then I'll come back to it and I'll change something and save as a new version. And it takes like usually 5 versions before I'm really happy with it. But we have a Bandcamp page. If you go to, I think the URL is actually 123blast on
It might be, yeah,
bandcamp.com.
because you had it for
But-
a while.
If you Google Holy Wow Studios at bandcamp.com, we have all of our soundtracks we put online. I think they're like $2 for the album. Do you ever see Twin Peaks, the TV show?
Oh, yeah.
Peaks? Yeah, one of our typing games was super Twin Peaks inspired.
Yeah, we watched
And,
it like twice, and we were really compelled to make like a murder mystery typing game.
Yeah. But the soundtrack to that is super inspired by the Twin Peaks soundtrack, which is
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I love doing that. That was probably
Yeah, Dan definitely had a lot of fun with that.
my favorite soundtrack I worked on because the Twin Peaks soundtrack has this distinctive sound, and it was so much
It's
fun.
very
Yeah.
moody.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
blast.
I have to say, you guys' game looks fantastic.
Have you gotten to play it?
I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I've been reading on it. I've been watching the videos. I don't actually have a copy. You said it wasn't up yet, correct?
Yeah, we'll send you a build though. It would be fun.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I would enjoy it. I would enjoy that.
Actually, we need to test it a little bit because to make the arcade version, we had to make a bunch of tweaks because we had to simplify. We wanted to simplify it and speed it up.
We wanted to speed
Yeah.
it up. There was a bit of dialogue in our current version.
Yeah.
That we didn't want people to just like sitting watching. You know,
We wanted to be like
copy,
a quick
pop up.
experience.
Yeah.
But so we need to make sure we didn't break anything with the non-arcade version. But then, yeah, we'll send you a
If you're
build.
interested.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Definitely,
awesome.
yeah.
I would love to play it. Yeah, because I was looking to play the game, and I was told you guys haven't really released it yet.
Oh, whoops.
And but it does look fun. I think my favorite part is the part where they're dancing with the owl.
Yeah.
He has like this little shake that he's doing. Like it just makes you feel good watching it. Like you just feel, I don't know, you feel fun watching it.
Are you a Seinfeld fan? Do you watch Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's supposed to be
Yeah.
it's Elaine. That's the Elaine dance. It's absolutely the.
dance. Yeah.
It's absolutely the Elaine dance. If you watch, he kicks the same way, the same thumbs.
Yeah.
No, but the game looks fantastic, and I think that you guys definitely don't give yourself as much credit as you deserve. You have
thanks.
some very interesting ideas that sound fun. I say you should definitely look into the arcade thing. That is beyond awesome. I think
Maybe
that's
we'll try
fantastic.
Kickstarter again. I don't know. Maybe we'll plan out. Maybe we'll flesh it out a little more and try Kickstarter one more time or something. I don't know.
And
We'll
so for everyone's watching, is there anything you want to say about the game that hasn't already been said, or maybe some things you're changing in the upcoming before the game launches that you may want to get out real quick?
I mean, little things in the trailer that's playing have been updated. Like the tank game has been updated. The wizard game has been Word Wizard has been updated. Dan had the great idea with Word Wizard to change it from water, fire, and earth
It's a
to
long story. Yeah.
rock, paper, scissors, and like the wizards literally shoot a pair of scissors, and then like the next one literally shoots at like a rock and
Yeah.
crashes.
But I want people to know that it also supports single player.
Yeah,
So, and we're gonna release it for cheap too. I don't know. We haven't decided on a price yet.
it's something very affordable.
Something cheap, probably like either $7 or something
or
like
like,
that.
Oh, wow.
5,
7 or 5. I don't know. So
We'll see.
people. I think we wanted it to be cheap so people would just pick it up, and just try it out.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think
That's-
should be a lot of fun. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I'd say that watching the trailer, I think the one game that interests me is one you're talking about the wizards and the paper rock. Yeah, that looks really interesting. I didn't realize that they throw the scissors at the rocks though. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the trailer it's out of date. We need to
Yeah.
release a second version of the trailer
Yeah.
for sure before we release it. Yeah. We'd also like to make a video too where we want to make a video where we actually see people playing it.
Yeah,
to
and
really
physically see the two keyboards connected to the computer.
Because one thing the trailer doesn't really show is like the actual two physical keyboards in one room, which is pivotal to the whole idea.
Well, I kind of like that little thing you got where the keyboard plugs in and it gets like the anime happy face. That's actually really cool. I think that's awesome. It's like, I don't know, it kind of makes you feel safe and fun. You're just like, yay.
Yeah, just plug it in.
We just want people to know 100% before they purchase a game that you need, the whole idea is two keyboards on computer, which is not common. So it's kind of hard to make that, like, to really drive that point home.
Yeah,
so,
I'd like to think a lot of gamers have another keyboard floating around, whether it's like a roommate's keyboard they could borrow for 5 minutes or, just something.
Or, if you invite a friend over to play, just tell them to bring their keyboard.
Right.
Because everyone has one keyboard. So you don't have to buy another keyboard. Just, tell your friend to bring one.
Yeah.
No, like I said, the game looks fantastic, guys.
Thanks.
I just want to say, Dan and Jackie, thank you guys for coming in on the show.
Oh, well, thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's always great to see new faces, and it's great to see a game like this, which is fresh and original, and we appreciate that. And thanks for coming on. For everyone here on the stream, this is Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing. Soon to be released. I don't think we can squeeze a release date out of you guys yet, unless you want to squeal a little bit. Or
well, the issue is we have a freelance project we have to finish first.
Yes,
we must finish this freelance project.
Is there a quarter you want to say is coming out in, or
was that?
Is there like a certain quarter you want to say it's coming out?
What's this quarter? Is this still first quarter? If this is first, whatever the next quarter is, whatever the next quarter after this quarter.
Yeah, like a few months or so.
We haven't really delved into the process of like setting up our Steam account and uploading it to Steam, so hopefully that's not too tricky and too crazy.
Yeah, we've done some preliminary things, but
if it's hard to get into Steam, it might take a few months. If it's easy to get into Steam, maybe slightly sooner.
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, like I said, guys, the game is awesome. I really do hope to see it in the future, and hopefully you can get me that build. I'd love to play it.
No problem. Yeah,
I would love to play it, and hopefully we can see Star Captain as well.
Yeah.
And that would be awesome. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Like I said, if the game launches, hope we can see you on here again.
Yeah, sure. No, we'd be happy to.
We would love to have you guys again. If once the game goes live and you have the final build out, we'd love to get you back on and talk about it.
Great. Yeah, publicity is good. Yep.
Yeah. That's right.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day. See you.